Senate Agriculture and Rural Broadband Committee together to order. Members, for the record, we'll note quorum is present. We've got a couple different topics on our agenda today, and so we want to get rolling here. First, talk about hear from the Office of Broadband and just the status of the Rural Broadband Program and other broadband issues or concerns, as well as some from the industry. Many of you have maybe heard some of the questions or concerns that have come up. We want to hear about that in this committee. We won't be taking any action on that. Chair Putnam and I have talked about the agenda, and so we'll start with that. Then following that, we've got a couple bills from Senator Wesenberg and concerning deer farming across our state. Some concerns. We will be moving into that, the second half of the hearing. And members, at this point, we'll probably be looking to move a bill or two with or without recommendation, as I've talked with Chair Putnam, but we'll see as the testimony goes what the will of the committee is. So with that, Ms. Mackey, we'll call you forward first, and then Brent and Melissa will have you come after to talk about broadband and tell us where things are at, how things are going, and give us a report from the Office of Broadband to get started.
Well, thank you, Chair Westrom and Co-Chair Putnam for having me here today, as well as the rest of the members. So today I'm just going to provide some overview. For the record, Bree Mackey, Executive Director at the Office of Broadband Development at DEED. My role here today is give just some general updates on the programs that we administer through our office. Next slide. So just some general history and the work that we do based on the framework that was set up in legislation that created our office over 10 years ago. We follow statutory goals. Our broadband office also supports the Governor's Task Force on Broadband. We do extensive data mapping through our office that is updated twice a year on our webpage, as well as we have tools that you have all provided through infrastructure grant programs and digital equity grants. Next slide. So I would be remiss not to bring this slide and show that we have a very dedicated but small staff of now 14 throughout the state of Minnesota. These staff members work very hard to administer the grants we currently have, as well as some additional federal dollars that we have been tasked with. They are geographically located in many areas across the state where we all live and understand the impacts of reliable broadband access. Those are the programs listed above there or under there. I'm going to go through each of them briefly and provide some specific updates for those programs that we administer. Next slide. But first, let's talk about 2024. So I will not read every single one of them, but we do want to recognize that we celebrated the 10-year anniversary of the office, as well as 10 grant rounds. So that is a huge milestone, and really appreciate all the support throughout the years. We also held 4 training sessions, what we called Navigating Plus, which is permitting land use in state systems. So it was an opportunity for us to partner with some of our other agencies that help us deploy broadband across the state. And then finally on this page, we carried out over 81 site visits to ensure that state infrastructure dollars that are being spent are in compliance. So every grant that we do close out, we're going out there, we're running speed checks, making sure that every location that is part of that grant is being served. Additional milestones on the next page is we did award 34 border-to-border grants for over $58.2 million. 16 lower population for 46.6, and we did line extension of over 11.2 million. I'll have additional updates on those later in the slides. So where are we at in Minnesota? What are our met needs. I do want to just say this may get a little confusing when we start talking about the BEAD eligible locations later again in the presentation for updates. But as of December 2024, there are still 143 households or businesses without access to 25-3 and 189,000 without access to 100 by 20. Remember, our statutory goals are 2026 to have everybody connected at 100 by 20. I do have a note there that the eligible locations of that is about 81,000. We do have more specific numbers again later in the presentation. And then if you look towards the bottom, you can see that the numbers from 2023 in November, so how we are meeting those goals from year to year. All right. So one of the things that we did do last year was we wanted to really understand a cost data analysis of what it would take to get broadband to everyone in the state, and also knowing that our BEAD funding was not going to get us to the statutory goals that the state has and what that looks like. So we did do a request for proposal and hired a company called CTC Technology and Energy, not the broadband company, to do this consulting. And really what we wanted to do, again, was determine how much funding was needed to serve the state under BEAD, but also determine the cost to fund the state to be served at a minimum of 100 by 20 with wireline connection. What we found out, or excuse me, go to the next slide, thank you. There were three really strong components of this: is universal coverage, funding optimization, and technical feasibility. And what we found out in the next slide was that in order to have universal wireline company to around 193 locations, again, the data changed a little bit when we did our updated mapping, it would be over $2 billion. That again is fiber wireline. Now with the BEAD dollars, we're estimating the eligible locations at that time was 99,000 passes. If that was all 100% used for fiber, it would be $1.1 billion. And then finally, with the amount of money that we have in BEAD, so the $628 million that will go into the actual infrastructure using fiber, we will probably get to 90,000 homes or businesses. And I'll talk a little bit because we had to do a challenge process. Again, these were numbers at a snapshot, but about 10,000 homes and businesses will not be able to get wireline service and will have to use alternative technology according to this cost data analysis. So moving into our programs, again, the Border to Border Grant Program provides up to 50% eligible cost of a location. The Low Population Density Program is up to 75% eligible cost per grant, and the maximum is $10 million. These are competitive grant programs. Businesses and residents do not actually have a formal process, but they can submit letters of support, as well as counties and local units of government. ISPs are the ones that apply for these grants, so internet service providers. Those providers have 2.5 years to complete their build. They also have to offer at least 100 by 20 at completion and be scalable to 100 by 100. And again, this grant program is a reimbursement of actual costs throughout the build of the project through milestones. Over the course of the 10 years, wanted just to provide you some numbers. We have issued over $4 million in grants, but really important to also recognize that the local match has been over $503 million. We've served over 119,000 homes during this 10-year process. And as of right now, we are closing out rounds 5 and 6. And we still have rounds 7 through 10 with active projects going right now. We did last year with some legislative direction and changes by this committee, as well as the House, and passing the $5 million transfer authority. We did use that in grant round 10, and we moved that into lower density population because the applications were just that much more in need as we did the evaluation. So we did use that transfer authority and really appreciate being able to do so. All right, next slide. The line extension program. So again, in 2022 legislative session, this was created a new program. This program was funded through the capital projects dollars and had 15 million allocated to that. This is a reverse auction program with a maximum of 25,000 per location. Businesses and residents actually are involved in this. They submit the application, and then those addresses are bid eligibility based on the start of the eligibility process. However, we do evaluate to make sure that those bids on those locations do not look like border-to-border grant applications, that these really are targeting those 1-2 offline extensions in the intent of this program. Also, this is a grant payment of actual costs at closeout. Next slide. And so we have been able to do 3 grant rounds to use up the $15 million. And you can see how it is broken out here. I do want to just share again, $20 million in overall, which was a 25% match by our internet service providers to achieve these projects. And also we had over 2,200 homes and businesses connected through this program. This is capital projects dollars. It has to be expended by the end of 2026. We've worked with Treasury to be able to, as those projects come in, reallocate those dollars out as quickly as we can, because we know that there is still a continuous need. As of January 6th, we had over 5,700 folks and businesses apply for this program. Again, we have to do evaluation of each of those locations to make sure they don't already have service or are not under another grant program for build. All right, so moving into the IIJA and federal funding. So as you recall, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, BEAD, is under our work as well. This was the program under Internet for All, and the almost $652 million. Currently, we have 4 years to expend those federal funds once our final plan is approved. Additionally, we also are charged with the Digital Equity Grant Program, and Minnesota's allocation for that is $12 million. Our application for that was approved in December of 2024. So a little bit more on the federal guidelines timeline with BEAD. Where we are right now is we are part of that 1 year in order to get our final application into NTIA that shows every location is going to be served. We just completed our challenge process, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just want to make sure that you are all aware that our final proposal is due to NTIA by October 3rd of this year. And just a reminder also with this program, and this shows a very granulated map of where those locations are in Minnesota that are eligible, but first our priority has to be to the unserved locations in the state. Once we can show that we can get to all the unserved, we can move to priority 2, which is the underserved. And then from there, if we have any funds left, we can move into making sure anchor institutions have the quality of service that they need. The overall timeline, as I mentioned, the final list of BEAD eligible locations we submitted to NTIA in December. We were approved our locations on January 17th. We are working diligently right now with our mapping vendor to get a layer on our website so people can go in and see those locations where they're eligible. So unless you have a CostQuest data right now, license, it's just numbers, but we're working to get a layer so we can really get into the weeds, and then our ISPs as well as residents know if they're eligible for BEAD. We did open our pre-qualification portal, so we do have a grants management system, and we decided to move forward with the pre-qualification to help move things along, but also see what provider interest we have out there. And providers do need to apply through that pre-qualification in order to apply for the grant rounds. We plan to open our first subgrantee selection round between March 10th and April 7th, and then you can see we will open the second round and then the third round, which we are affectionately calling 11A, B, and C to go off of 10 of the last rounds. So we will work through the summer, and towards early fall, we will submit our final list, come up with our final list of eligible grantees and submit it no later than October 3rd to NTIA for their approval. So the challenge results. So we did a challenge process that was open for nonprofits, local units of government, and internet service providers to be able to challenge the locations on the NTIA original map that was based on the FCC maps. And this was really an opportunity to make sure if locations weren't on there, they get on there. If there were locations that were already served, we get them off there, because certainly we don't want to spend money that we desperately need in other areas. What we found out is that currently we're serving over 2 million locations in Minnesota in some capacity by private build-outs or with grant dollars. But we have 40,579 locations that are underserved, so our priority one, and then another 195 of underserved locations. So again, NTIA had to approve those finalists. Those are the locations we have to make sure that we are getting BEAD dollars to and have service through these grant funds. All right, now moving into the Digital Equity Act. Again, this was part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We are part of the capacity grants, so our office is in the capacity grants. There are also grants to our tribal partners that are direct from NTIA, and then NTIA also did some competitive grants to Minnesota organizations. The Hmong American Partnerships and the Minnesota State College and University Systems were awarded competitive grants, so very exciting for those organizations to move their work. And then, as you recall, I probably shared this last time, but the approach that we took at the Office of creating a digital opportunity plan was really going out, hearing from communities, understanding their needs, barriers, and resources, and then putting that plan together based on those information. We did 18 listening sessions across the state as well. And then, as I mentioned, the Digital Equity Capacity Grant, it was a non-competitive grant formula that NTIA created, and we have $12 million in this first round. Our application was approved December 24, and so we are working to prepare RFPs and grant contracts for NTIA to review. Once we get through that approval process, we'll move into accepting applications, and then we will release some timelines for additional grant opportunities for all organizations in digital opportunity services. This slide just recognizes the vision we had, the goals we had come out of those listening sessions and building our digital opportunity plan is to make sure that we're connecting people to people, people to information, and people to resources. And this final slide on digital equity is future opportunities. So again, we will be working in collaboration with cities, counties, tribes, and other organizations to implement non-competitive grants around digital opportunity. We're also working to create a digital opportunity network, and we plan to pilot a digital opportunity leader network. And then finally, there'll be some competitive grant opportunities as well. So trying to create some equity with the non-competitive grants so all can participate. And finally, here's my contact information. We, again, certainly appreciate all of your support at the Office of Broadband, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here, and I will stand for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Members, questions? Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Ms. Mackey, for your wonderful presentation. You know, there is a fair amount of anxiety in the world right now about relationships between federal funding and state funding. Are you in a position to kind of think through about how any of those current issues, given the new administration and its effort to pull money out of our state, if there is anything that you were thinking about or preparing for, given the damage that that might cause?
Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Chair Westerman and Chair Putnam, for the question. As of right now, we know that there is a lot of anxiety and confusion. We are awaiting guidance from our federal partners as things change, but right now we are staying the course of the work that we are held responsible to doing and have committed to doing in the state.
Chair Putnam, any follow-up?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay. While we're on that topic, maybe I'd just ask my question, and then Senator Anderson has a question. So, Ms. Mackey, we're going to hear next about some concerns and changes in regulations and installer qualifications. Can you share with us any discussions or insights you have on that so far? And we're hearing concerns about having the subscription or the applications for some of the money, state, more federal, that may not be sought after if these regulations stay as they are. But can you talk to us about what you're hearing on that front? Kind of relates to the federal money, and I've heard it's about $650 million potentially for our state, but what do you know about that?
Yes, thank you, Chair Westrom, for the question. So certainly our role at the Office of Broadband is to carry out the statutes and laws that you all create for us. We certainly are at the table with all of our partners to make sure there is clarity and understanding on what those mean and the impacts of them. I think we are doing our best to provide education and resources, not only through our office, but with some of our other state partners that are a part of broadband as well. When you're talking about the federal dollars in and of itself, we know that there are some concerns around the additional requirements of BEAD, specifically whether it is the low-cost plan requirements or federal interest in infrastructure. And certainly we hear those concerns and work with our federal partners to understand those concerns and where we can be effective and communicate those. But we are carrying out the rules of NTIA at this time.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Mackey, where it talks about Minnesota's unmet needs, you mentioned 143,000 households without access to 25 by 3. That's as of December of this past year. And then you go down to the bottom and it shows 162,000 households that were without access in November of 2023. Does that mean that you have actually been able to get 19,000 locations met, meeting that requirement for 25 by 3? And then if you look at the other one where it goes to 229 in November of 2023 to 189 of 2024 for the 100 by 20, it shows a 40,000 location. Is that true that they have been, that those locations have been met, the requirements, and have received now the broadband for these requirements?
Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, Senator Anderson. So I think just to provide some clarity there, it is a combination of private investment, other federal dollars that are going into deployment, as well as state dollars. So our maps that, this is not just specific to our state dollar locations, it's the state as a whole. So the mapping that we do is through Connected Nation is our mapping vendor, and they're looking at access across the state. So yes, some of that 19,000 would be from closeout of state dollars and state grants, but it could also be private investment that is happening or federal investment as well. If you would like specific numbers per year of what we close out, I'm happy to do that research and get that to you. But you know, as I stated a little bit earlier, we have 4 grant rounds that are open at any given time, so I can't say specifically which grant it is part of at this point. But happy to give you like a yearly, what did we do and close out, and those numbers specific to our office if it's helpful.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mackey. I would like to know how many households had actually received, and that gap has been closed for the 25 by 3 and the 100 by 20. Then I'd like to go to another page where it says the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. It says that Minnesota's BEAD allocation from the federal government is $651 million plus, and I'm wondering on what basis then are the 89,000 locations been eligible? Is it on federal standards or is it on state standards?
Ms. Mackey?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator. So the dollar amount that we were allocated was based on the FCC maps at the time that NTIA and the Department of Commerce issued the award. So it was a calculation created by them. We knew, and they knew, that those FCC maps were not 100% correct, which is why we did the challenge process and were required, every state and territory, to do the challenge process. That provided us an opportunity to take and deduplicate. So if there was already grant dollars by a federal agency or other state, we could take them off of the map. And so that's where the 89,000 came from in the end, was through that challenge process.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you. So according to the request, 89,000 locations here in Minnesota are meeting the guidelines that were set up for receiving funds. What's the next step that people, that these locations, these eligible locations, have to take to finalize getting the requirement to get done?
Ms. Mackey?
Thank you, Chair Westrom and Senator Anderson. So the next step will be, we will be holding subgrantee selection rounds. There will be 3 of them. During that period of time, the first round will only be for fiber applications. So internet service providers will need to apply for locations. They can pick their projects area as well during round 1. So much similar to border program or low population. Then once we see all of the bids for those locations from internet service providers, we will evaluate and look at the next round and try to capture more locations. And in the final 3rd round is where we're going to have to really look at alternative technology if we can't get an internet service provider to look to build in those locations. We are working very collaboratively with our internet service providers to understand where those barriers are. I've strongly encouraged them to put applications in that include possible waiver requests that are barriers to their participation. Ultimately, NTIA has to approve those waivers, but we want to be thoughtful and work with our providers to ensure that every location has some provider going in there and maximize those dollars.
So one last question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Mackey. So it says here the current federal guidance provides 4 years to expend the funds. Does that mean that if out of those 89,000, some are not meeting what the state wants, does that mean they will not fall off but will be continue to be considered for the next round of state monies to match the federal money?
Ms. Mackey?
Thank you, Chair and Senator. Ultimately, the requirement that we have with BEAD, it's all or nothing. So we have to show all 89,000 homes and businesses have the service that have service in order to receive all of it. So at the end of the subgrantee selection round, if, again, I don't get somebody with fiber or an eligible application by an internet service provider, we have to look at alternative technology in order to say they are served.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Ms. Mackey, kind of consistent with that, you touched on the reverse auction, which is just fairly new in what you're doing. Can you expand on that just briefly? And I don't want to go too long here, but is it working? Have you found competitive bidding with 2 or more providers in many cases? Or what's your experience been so far? And how is it working?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Westrom. So it has been a very effective program. It is really an opportunity for residents and businesses to be part of this process, to self-register. We have had good applications, and also we know that it's oversubscribed. So we do get applications. We're all out of money. Would love to be able to continue to do this. I think there's somewhat of a pause a little bit right now, knowing where the BEAD locations conserved and what will be left. The line extension definitely builds off of the growth of network of service across the state. So as our providers continue to make investments, both private and with grant dollars, they're expanding, and then those line extensions become even more effective.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Mackey. I think that concludes the questions for now. Appreciate you coming and taking your time. We'll probably have certainly have some follow-up questions or further discussions down the road.
Thank you.
I want to call Brent Christensen up next, and actually Melissa Wolf from Brent from the Minnesota Telephone Association, Melissa Wolf from the Minnesota Cable Association. You can, if it's friendly enough, you can sit at the same table. We'll just keep moving on. Mr. Christensen, identify yourself for the record. Welcome. I think you know the drill, but we'd like to hear about broadband and some particular challenges that you have talked to several of us or some of your members have, as well as just any other lay of the land. And then Ms. Wolf will be next. Go ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate this opportunity. For the record, my name is Brent Christensen, and I'm the president and CEO of the Minnesota Telecom Alliance. I brought pictures to show, so I think we'll go through this. For those of you who are not aware, Minnesota Telecom Alliance is made up of 42 rural broadband providers. Our members range from Lumen, our largest member, to one telco that has 260 subscribers and everything in between. It's a blend of cooperatives, family-owned companies, privately held, publicly traded, and it's pretty much every telecom company or telephone company in Minnesota except for Frontier and Windstream. What we are not is we are not cellular providers, and we're not VoIP providers, mobile VoIP providers like Vonage or Magic Jack. And I think the important thing to remember in this conversation is that our membership have transitioned from being landline telephone companies to rural broadband providers. To kind of put into what Director Mackey told you about as far as the state border-to-border grant, MTA members have participated in the grant program for the entire 10 years of the program. On top of that, our members have invested over $653 million of private investment, not state or federal funding, over the last 2 years. And I share that information with you because I want to put that in context. That's more than the BEAD money that we're going to get this coming year. I'd like to take a couple minutes and just to give you a little background and kind of frame some of this up. In addition, everybody's focused on talking about BEAD. You all know about the border-to-border program, which has been highly successful here. But we have other federal money that comes into Minnesota. And it comes into Minnesota through the Universal Service Fund. And the Universal Service Fund is on everybody's phone bill. There's a FUSC charge, Federal Universal Service Fund, and that goes into a pot of money that's administered by the Universal Service Administration Corporation, or USAC, and the USAC board members are appointed by the FCC. So the FCC, basically, through USAC, they collect this big pot of money, and then they have a few programs that it goes out. So this is not tax dollars. These are through fees that are collected on phone bills. And unfortunately, they haven't kept up with the times on that. So if you still have a landline telephone, you're paying over 31% a month just on a universal service fee. And that is transitioned from providing telephone service to bringing the cost down to provide broadband. There's the Universal Service Fund has different funds within it, or programs within it. It has the Schools and Libraries program. It has the Rural Healthcare program. But the one I'm going to focus on today is the High Cost Fund. And that's designed and has been in place for over 4 decades to bring the cost down for service in rural areas. And there are a number of programs that are funneling through Minnesota now. But from 2016 to 2028, through 2028, we're looking at over $1.2 billion coming into the state through the Connect America Fund 2 or CAF 2, the Alternative Connect America model, which is ACAM. They had a CAF2 auction where they often auctioned off some locations. Then they came up with ACAM2 and RDOF. And I put all those down there. They mean a lot to us, but they don't mean a lot to other people. But I just put them down there to tell you the scope of what's happening with the Universal Service Fund. And on top of that, the Rural Utilities Service, or RUS, has reconnect grants and loans, and Minnesota has brought in over $44 million through 5 rounds of reconnect grants and loans. So we have BEAD money coming to Minnesota. So what does that mean from a provider's perspective? You heard from Director Mackey, their goal is to work with our members and the cable folks to get broadband out to everybody using those BEAD dollars. The reason they want to do that is because we have a track record. We have a proven track record of working with the state for the last 10 years to deploy rural broadband, and we've been successful at it. So we want our members to do this. The problem is there are some federal and state obstacles that are not making this convenient or attractive to my members to participate. My members have told me they have no intentions of participating in BEAD, and I'm going to talk you through some of the reasons why. The biggest reason, the first reason, is because the NTIA rules require that NTIA has a lien on any facilities we put in the ground using BEAD dollars. That's impossible for my members because they borrow money from a number of sources and they have liens on other facilities they put in. They can't accept this lien and their lenders aren't going to take a second position. The other requirement that NTIA put on this that's going to be a showstopper for my members is the open access requirement. They have to open up access to whatever facilities they install using BEAD to any competitors. Well, BEAD dollars are designed to tip the scales on a business case, just like border to border did. And the problem is when you open this up and have an open access network, then you're not guaranteed to get those customers. Your competitors can use that network as well. And I will tell you, in my almost 30 years in the telecommunications industry, I have never seen an open access network in this country that worked. The other problem that we have at the federal level is that they require archaeological environmental permits to be in place before you sign any contracts. So we're going to invest tens of thousands of dollars to engineer a project on the hope that we might get these permits approved and that we might get the waivers that we need to make this work. That just doesn't make sense for my members. On top of the federal requirements, there are some state obstacles to BEAD participation that are going to keep folks away. One is that we have to have a self-funded low-cost program. That's in the Volume 2 plan that was submitted by the state of Minnesota. It wasn't their choice to submit it. It was something that NTA required. That's okay when you have a large provider who provides service over has a good, big customer base, a lot of businesses they can spread that cost to. But some of those smaller companies I was telling you about, they don't have that customer base. And to self-fund the low-income program doesn't make sense. It doesn't work for them. Another problem that we've got is points are given if there's a competitive nature in it for prevailing wage. Now let me be clear. I am not against prevailing wage. I have no problems with it. The reality is we have to pay a prevailing wage in order to get workers. We get that. The problem is there are no job classifications for telecommunications in state and federal prevailing wage. We had an instance last year where we had a member that had a grant that had to pay prevailing wage for a fiber splicer. Now, a fiber splicer sits in a trailer in a ditch usually, and they take 2 pieces of glass together and they basically melt it together. Senator Putnam has experience doing that. That job classification was classified the same as a high voltage electrical lineman. Now, I have no disrespect for fiber splicers. I have done it myself. But I will tell you that is not in the same category as a high voltage electrical lineman. So if we're going to have prevailing wage requirements, we have to have telecom specific jobs that go along with it. There are new workforce data plan reporting requirements. That's just another layer. It's just another stick in the road that throws a layer on it. New certification requirements for telecom installers that only apply to certain telecommunication installers and only applies to when they're installing broadband. For instance, the Department of Labor and Industry built the certification program around the existing pipe layer program. And they had to do that because there is no other certification program like this in the country. The pipe layers only have to be trained for 4 hours. Our folks have to be trained for 40. It also requires them to either provide training on directional boring machine if they have one or not, or come up with a second training program, which costs time and money. So what's the answer? I don't like coming up here and throwing out a bunch of complaints. I want to come up with some solutions. And in my opinion, the solution is we need more carrots and less sticks. We need to work to remove these obstacles to participation, and we need to find a way to incentivize the rural broadband providers to provide the service that we want them to do. The state wants them to do this. They are proven entities that have a track record of success. Now, I freely acknowledge that there are some bad actors in this space, and we have to go after them. We have to work together to go after the bad actors, and we have to use, I believe we have the tools to do that already. Through the Office of Pipeline Safety and local permitting authority, we have the tools that we need to go after, and we need to do that. So that was, Mr. Chairman, I am happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Maybe I'll ask Ms. Wolf to offer her comments so we can keep things moving along here, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Absolutely.
Ms. Wolf, identify yourself for the record and welcome.
Yes. It's not pulling up, but I can, one second. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members, and thank you for the opportunity to present to the committee today. My name is Melissa Wolf, and I am the Executive Director of the Minnesota Cable Communications Association, or Minnesota Cable. Today, like Brent, I'm hoping to just quickly run through some of the history and a little bit more information about Minnesota Cable and my members, and then go over a few of the challenges and opportunities to broadband deployment and access that we see today. And I'm just going to continue since time is of the essence, and if this pulls up, great. I hope that you guys have a copy of this, but if not, I'll make sure to send it around. So Minnesota Cable represents cable companies who are proud to serve residents of Minnesota in every corner of the state, from Schoberg's in Thief River Falls to SCI in Hinckley and Mediacom in Waseca. Collectively, Minnesota Cable companies provide high-speed, reliable broadband connections to over 1.5 million residents in the metro suburbs and rural Minnesota. Minnesota cable companies have a long-standing commitment to serving Minnesota residents. For instance, Arvig, one of my members that is based in Perham, Minnesota, is celebrating 75 years in business this year, transforming from a small telephone company in the 1950s to one of the nation's largest independent broadband providers today. SCI Broadband, which is headquartered in Hinckley, it was established in 1984 and has grown from initially providing cable TV services to a few rural communities to offering high-speed internet, video, and voice services in dozens of rural communities across central Minnesota. And Midco, they originated in Minneapolis in 1931 as a theater company and have evolved with technology to become a leading regional telecommunications company operating across 5 Midwest states. So it's undeniable that access to reliable high-speed internet service has become an essential service of modern society. Minnesota Cable members are proud of the role they play in ensuring that their customers have access to a strong, reliable connection. And we are proud of the continuing investments we have made to bring broadband to areas of Minnesota that do not have it. So the slide that was supposed to be up shows how collaboratively Minnesota Cable members have worked to bridge the digital divide through 3 key efforts, and that is with private capital investment through some of the federal broadband programs that Brent has already mentioned, and then of course the Minnesota border-to-border low density and line extension programs. In 2025 alone, cable providers will invest over $173 million in private capital across the state, and they will reach over 53,000 homes, businesses, and schools with high-speed internet. Private investment not only expands access, but also allows and makes investments in networks to meet customer needs now and in the future. So for example, Schoberg's, which operates in Thief River Falls, will invest over $1 million in private capital this year to enhance their customer service levels from 1 gig to 10 gig and increase their backbone network to 100 gig. Another important point, as Brent mentioned too, and you've heard from Ms. Mackey today, is the Minnesota border-to-border and line extension and low-density grant programs. I must echo Brent's comments of how successful these programs have been in expanding access through those programs, which is obviously all overseen by the Office of Broadband Development. Their team is exemplary and they unite stakeholders and work tirelessly across our state. We're proud to work with them and we are very proud to have them here in Minnesota. I also just want to acknowledge the foresight of the legislature for not only creating these programs long before COVID and federal broadband programs existed, but also for continuing to invest in them. Also, what was on a slide for you guys was our investment through these programs. So since 2014, Minnesota cable members have received 62 state grants, totaling $53.5 million, and we have provided an additional $76.9 million in matching fund for those projects. Very quickly, I've mentioned some of these items, but did want to just touch on some of the impact Minnesota cable providers have on Minnesota's economy. Again, we serve over 1.5 million Minnesota households. Over 13,600 Minnesotans are employed directly by a Minnesota cable provider, and another 40,000 are indirect jobs provided by this industry. 188.2 million is what Minnesota cable providers pay per year in state taxes and fees. We have over 81,600 total network miles deployed across the state, and 2.8 billion is our total economic impact on the state of Minnesota per year. I'll briefly just mention this because I don't have a slide, but we also understand that access to high-speed internet connection means little without the tools and skills to use it, and barriers still exist, such as affordability. To address these challenges, my members have consistently invested in and participated in broadband assistance programs, including Comcast Internet Essentials that has connected over 480,000 Minnesota households, low-income households, Mediacom's Connect to Compete, and Lifeline programs that are offered by RVIG and Midco. Additionally, our providers are committed to supporting their communities through foundations. Midco has given over $6 million to nonprofit schools and local governments through their Midco Foundation. Comcast has established 114 lift zones in Minnesota, which offers free internet access in neighborhood community centers for students, families, and adults. I'm gonna just skip ahead in the essence of time, to some of the opportunities and challenges. Starting with opportunities, you guys heard from Director Mackey the number of homes that we have left to reach. And the first opportunity to reach those homes is through providers investing in the state, not just with private capital, but with other resources like their workforce. As I mentioned in testimony, Minnesota cable companies are committed to serving Minnesota. Other areas of opportunity include our state broadband grant programs. Even with the federal infusion of $652 million through BEAD, there will likely still be need for programs like the line extension program in the future. And then lastly, BEAD obviously has significant potential to advance connectivity in Minnesota's unserved and underserved areas if it is implemented correctly and with flexibility. Moving to challenges, I'll echo a few things that Brent mentioned, and I'll start with the new broadband installer labor program. This program passed last session. It was the first in the nation, like Brent mentioned, that passed without any amendments addressing industry concerns. Those concerns remain today, and we are looking forward to working with this committee and this legislature to address those concerns so that we can ensure that workers are safe in the field, compliant under the new law, and also able to continue deploying broadband across the state and participate in programs like BEAD. Last session, we also saw bills aimed at adding a tax to internet service and franchising broadband, which will harm all consumers and slow the progression of deployment. Affordability and accessibility to fast, reliable internet is essential for all Minnesotans, and adding unnecessary costs to broadband could impact everything from ensuring student access to digital tools essential to help close our state's achievement gap. Just two other quick challenges. Permitting, similar to many other industries, remains slow and difficult to receive. I'll just give a really quick example that one of my members did participate in a federal broadband grant program, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, in RDOF in 2020. Upon receiving a grant through that program, he applied for a state grant in 2020. Due to delays with that permit, he had to reapply in 2022 after hiring a consultant to address some concerns. And finally, in 2024, the permit was denied by the state agency. They asked the provider to switch from wireline to wireless access, which he was not a wireless provider. In addition, the grant that he received, it was required to provide wireline access. So instead, he is working with a lawyer, an FCC lawyer, which the FCC was the federal agency that implemented the program, to waive those locations, and that means that those residents who would have been captured by that grant are not going to receive access. So I just encourage the streamlining of state permitting process, reducing duplicative or overlapping regulatory requirements, and most importantly, enforcing the timely approval of permits for broadband deployment. Especially given through BEAD, before a provider can put a shovel in the ground, they need to have all of their permits for that project approved and in hand. Lastly, BEAD does fall under both opportunity and challenge. It offers a once-in-a-lifetime funding opportunity for our state, but its rollout has been very slow. We're on 4 years of not a single person being connected through this program, and because of that, it has there's a lot of uncertainty for providers. I will say that my members are hopeful and looking forward to participating in this program. And as the saying goes, the devil is in the details. So there's a lot to be determined. And as these portals open, which Ms. Mackey also mentioned, we will be looking forward to evaluating and moving through the process for participation in BEAD. So I'll conclude there and just again say thank you so much to the committee for allowing me to speak, and would happy to be to answer any questions.
Very good, Ms. Wolf. Maybe a few questions, and we got to get moving on. But one question I have specifically is on the challenges and the regulations that were passed last year. How do you anticipate that affecting you in the next 12 months as far as either seeking grants or getting as much fiber plowed in the ground as you anticipated on your projections prior to that challenge?
Let me go first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I think it's going to provide significant challenges. As far as grants go, what I'm hearing from my members is they don't intend to participate in BEAD, so I don't know how that's going to help. So that leaves really the RUS Reconnect program, and it's going to affect the ability to get the construction companies to do the work, to make sure that they're certified, and just drive up the cost of everything.
Ms.
Yeah,
Ms. Wolf, any comment, and then Senator Putnam, and then we'll move on.
So I think our biggest concern with the new program, not just in relation to BEAD, but also in current border-to-border grants that my members have that have deadlines of June and December of 2025, that we now have to implement and train, or we have to educate this workforce, contractors in the field, that they have to complete this training and work to get all of them through the program simultaneously during a construction season. The confusion also lies in who actually needs the certification in the field. If that is clarified, I don't think we will need as many people going through the program. But right now, what my members are concerned about is heading into a construction season where contractors that will have to complete this certification don't know that they have to complete it, getting them through a program while completing all of the projects simultaneously in the field that are due in June and December. And because of that, they will hesitate to take on other projects if they don't have the correct workforce to do it. I think from our perspective, it's not that we will have a shortage of qualified workers in the field. It is that we will have a shortage of DLI certified workers in the field.
Thank you. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Ms. Wolf and Mr. Christensen for being here today and for telling us a little bit about the struggles and opportunities that they face and that the state faces when it comes to the installation of broadband. So thanks for being here. But more importantly, thanks for coming back, because we're not done, as you both know very well. That we will continue to talk about this issue and continue to engage everyone in the room about these issues. And I want to say that as clearly as I can, that one of the things that I appreciate about the conversations that we've all had about this is that we're all starting with safety first. Everyone in the room starts with that, is that we want people to be safe and to be trained and do the work they need to do. And we want to make sure that we can take advantage of the resources that we have available to get broadband to every person in the state. And so I appreciate that spirit that has animated our conversations together, and also make a public commitment to both of you and everyone else in the room that we're going to keep talking about it together.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Mr.
might.
Christensen.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Putnam, thank you for those comments, and obviously we've worked together quite a while on this thing. The only thing I would add to that is I now know that there are bad actors in this state, and we got to go get them. And I think we're all committed to doing that.
And Mr. Christensen or Ms. Wolf, I think you kind of said this, but I want to make sure. So projects that are in the middle of a grant recipient or project right now, if they end by June 30th, they're not going to be subject to these new regulations. But if it's a project that continues this spring and goes through next summer and fall, all of a sudden by July 1st, it's going to stop everything if they don't have those regulations met. Is that my correct understanding?
Mr. Chair, yeah, let me clarify that. I think what we are concerned about is that we do have projects that have a June 30 deadline, and we now have a certification program that we have to get all of those workers through, and it will take them out of the field to get them through a 40-hour training instead of working on a project that's due on June 30th.
But technically, they don't have to meet it by June 30th, but I get what you're saying. It takes them out of the workforce. But then if that project or another project they're working on goes into July through the fall construction season, they can't work on it unless they have those new certifications.
Mr. Chair, correct. I think they will have to start taking the training as soon as the ground thaws, because on July 1st, if they don't have the certification, they either work in the field non-compliant or have to stop working in the field.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Christensen.
To clarify, that July 1st date is for the 7-county metro. January 1st of 26 is for the rest of the state.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Thank you both for your time. This topic, I think, was more to talk about, more to come. But for today, I think it's a very good tee-up and informational for us to focus on concerns and challenges and opportunities. So with that, thank you. Members, we'll move into the next part of the agenda. Senator Wesenberg, come forward. Members, here's kind of the path. We're going to try to stay rolling for anybody testifying. We're going to need to try to stay concise, to the point. We're going to start with Senator Wesenberg. I'm going to ask you to kind of summarize and explain both bills in front of us, members. They're related to deer farming and the deer, how we treat or rules pertaining to the deer farming. We are not going to move either of them at the beginning, so I'm going to ask Senator Wesenberg to touch on both of them, because the testifiers we hear from will largely cover one bill that deals with fencing requirements, but the second bill that would revert back to the authority being to the Board of Animal Health is also related. So my intention would be at the end we will if we bring them up for a motion to pass them out without recommendation, we will make those motions at the end of the hearing, somewhere around 4:45, 4:50, or 4:55. So for those testifying, try to work with our confines. We're going to start with Scott Fear from the, following Senator Wesenberg. Mr. Fear can come forward, and then we're going to hear from their Mr. Cardell, the attorney, who's going to join us by Zoom, and then Mr. Kroll, James Kroll, ex-professor and an expert in the deer arena. And then we're going to hear from some additional deer farmers affected here in Minnesota. So we're going to try to keep rolling along. Everybody try to be ready. I'm just trying to lay out the map so we can keep going. Senator Wesenberg, introduce your bills briefly, and then your testifiers.
Thank you, Chair Westrom and Chair Putnam and committee. So yeah, we, like you said, we'll be introducing a couple bills here. I'm kind of got a thing I'm going to work through. So just to, touch on farming a little bit, these people that are behind me, and not just behind me, but all farmers in the state, they work hard tirelessly, and we need to recognize that what they're doing is being harmed by this legislation. If we don't change it, these farmers, we need to work with them, and we need to figure out a way we can continue to work with deer farmers and all farmers in general. So I'm going to so some of the bills I have here, Senate File 659. What this would do is take the, currently the DNR is in charge of the deer farms. It would give it back to the Board of Animal Health. Deer on farms are not wild deer, they're livestock. So livestock should be managed by the Board of Animal Health and not the DNR. And that's why I want to give it back to them, and that's how we should manage these. That's what this bill is in short. My other bill is Senate File number 553. It would change, currently it says, it's about fencing. Farm Cervidae must be confined in a manner designed to prevent escape. It must be 8 feet tall, and entry into premises by free-roaming Cervidae and physical contact between farm Cervidae and free-roaming Cervidae. So I'm striking in physical contact between farm Cervidae and free-roaming Cervidae, and we have scientific proof as to why we're doing this, and I will present that. There's research to show that it's the other way around. The CWD is coming from wild deer and into the deer farms. And then at the end of this, I'm also removing, if the board revokes a facility's registration, the Commissioner of Natural Resources may seize and destroy animals at the facility. So if they simply don't follow a rule, it doesn't even say that their herd is infected, the DNR is going to take their deer herd and they're going to destroy them. So if a cattle farmer doesn't follow some rule, they pay a fine, but their cattle aren't taken away from them and destroyed. That's just utterly ridiculous. This can't be in here. So I'm going to move on and talk about scrapie just quickly. So scrapie is very similar to CWD. Some people think that, maybe CWD is scrapie. I'm not going to get into that, but scrapie is something that's very similar in the sheep and goat family, and we've eradicated scrapie basically by just genetics, and we're breeding for animals that don't have it. We're literally doing the same thing with deer right now. We found markers that are CWD resistant, so we can breed deer and they won't have CWD. So rather than destroying these farms, we need to work with them. I got just some paperwork here, just talks about the scrapie. If you want to look at it, I can get this to you, but we should really take this model and where it says scrapie, just put in white-tailed deer and do the same thing that we did with sheep and do it for deer farmers. I wanted to get a little nerdy and talk about the scientific method. I won't go too long on that, but we got to look at something and say, is it working? Isn't working? So what we've been doing is, the DNR's tactic has been just to we find CWD and we kill all the deer. Well, that's not working. So we had to come back up here. We have to say, what is going to work? Well, if you look at like Pennsylvania right now, they're working, so the DNR in Pennsylvania is actually working with the deer farmers out there, and they're working to breed CWD resistance into their farms. In Minnesota, we want to eliminate the deer farms. In Oklahoma, they're letting these deer that have been bred to be CWD resistant, they're letting them go in the wild. So we have an opportunity right now, rather than saying you got to kill all your deer if you don't adhere to some legislation that we made. we should be working with them, and we should be using the deer farmers in the state to breed resistance into the deer. We can do that. The science is, it's literally there. This isn't science fiction, it's real. So rather than putting these guys out of business, let's work with them, let's make their herds CWD resistant, and then we don't even have to worry about them getting CWD. And they're already doing that. Some of the Minnesota deer farmers have already done that, and they're above and beyond what the USDA asks them to do. They're regulating themselves to make sure that they can be in compliance, and they just want to have deer farms and they want to work. I'm going to move on to the studies. So I think, did this one get handed out? The one by Daniel Little? So this study just, I'm going to,
Yes, it did, I'm being told.
What's that? It did.
It did.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the abstract. I won't read the whole thing, it's 25 pages long, but any impact on CWD should be measured in cost-saving containment. Minnesota counties appear to be basing their moratoria on the underlying theory that captive cervids are the source of nearly all CWD infections. The data does not support this assumption. It is not generally accepted in the veterinary scientific community, nor does it have the requisite foundationally, it's not reliable. So if I write a paper, I'm a wildlife biologist, if I write a paper, I give it to my peers and they peer review it. And if it looks good, we move it along. If it doesn't, it goes in the garbage. So what we've been doing in Minnesota, basically, what maybe we didn't know a decade ago, but we're to the point now where the science says we have to change what we're doing. We have to stop shooting all the deer in CWD infected areas, because to save the deer, we're just shooting all of them. That doesn't make any sense. We have science that says we have genes that are CWD resistant. Let's use that science. We found that in Wisconsin about 10 years ago. They've been doing it there. Their captive herds are CWD free. They're doing it in Pennsylvania. We're letting these deer go. I don't think there's any other state in the nation that is still shooting the deer. They're just, because we know it's not working. So let's move towards the direction. Let's use the science. And I have a conclusion here before I just keep talking. So again, we have the opportunity to actually work with the scientists, work with the deer farmers, and this isn't just Minnesota. This is a problem worldwide. And like scrapie, we stop scrapie in sheep. We could stop CWD in deer. So that's what we should be doing. And that's what I hope we can do. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Wesenberg. Mr. Fear, I'll just have you introduce yourself and your position, and if you could try to keep it to about 3 to 5 minutes, just so we'd want to get to the testimony by Zoom from the attorney and the professor as well, and not run out of time at the end. So I'm just trying to keep us moving along. Try to hit the highlights, because we won't be able to cover everything in the next 45 minutes. But please proceed. Welcome to our committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Co-Chair and members. My name is Scott Fear. I'm president of the Minnesota Deer Farmers Association. I also raise cattle and crops. A couple of things I want to point out. As far as the DNR, going back to the Board of Animal Health to regulate us, the Board of Animal Health has regulated us for years. The transition to the DNR has been nothing short of a disaster. The goalposts keep moving on us. We don't really know what we're supposed to be doing. Who is our main contact person? That contact person has changed 2 or 3 different times now. It's just blatantly been a disaster, and hard to follow what we're supposed to be doing, when we're supposed to be doing it. So I'm in full support of going back to the Board of Animal Health. They're the professionals when it comes to animals. They're animal health, that's what we are. We're livestock. We should be treated no differently than cattle, hogs, swine, sheep, you name it. And then getting to the fence, and Dr. Kroll, some of our testimony here will highlight this more than I will, but the DNR has given us specific guidelines to follow for exclusionary fence, which in the law it reads we're supposed to prevent physical contact. Well, in our regard, we have our fence up already. We have close to 20 years of video surveillance from Minnesota on some of our own farms. Michigan has done a study of fence to fence or nose to nose contact between single fences. Like I said, close to 20 years of surveillance, and the best of my recollection, there's been, I think it was 6 incidental contacts in 20 years of surveillance from deer touching potentially touching noses. And there's no science to support that just touching noses can, you make one deer affected from another. And another thing I wanted to point out there too is based on the 4 fencing structures that they give us as recommendations, we feel they're all a fail, in our opinion. Either they're too expensive or they don't work. I mean, we could put up shade cloth. Well, I've put up shade cloth in the past on my farm. I've raised deer for 25 years. I put up shade cloth on my fence in the high winds and stuff. It lays your fence flat on the ground. Well, then we know what happens there. I mean, where our deer get moved into the next pen or they get out, and then I'm in violation and I get, I get a fine or whatnot. Then you take the cheapest route to fence. I mean, it's going to cost, my farm alone is going to cost me close to $60,000. It's running me out of business. I can't afford to put the fence up. And if I do probably the best measure of fence would cost my operation alone upwards of over $800,000. How do I invest that into my farm when we're being regulated out of business? How do I create a business model or a business plan on a business that has been run out of business and we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow? So we're being set up for failure. Then based on those guidelines too, I find it interesting that the DNR, when they, on their website, they give us the 4 different guidelines that they would recommend. And at the bottom of it, there's a disclaimer, and I'll read it to you. The statements in this document do not have the force and effect of law. This document is informational only. It should not be interpreted as creating new criteria or requirements beyond what is already established in the relevant statutes and rules. Whether an individual facility complies with the relevant statutes and rules will be determined on a case-by-case basis. Nothing in this document should be considered legal advice. Yet, if we don't comply with some of these rules, we get notices of violations. We've had civil penalties issued, but yet we got this disclaimer. I mean, where do we go? Which way do we turn? We don't know what to do, And with that, I think I'll close to keep it short. We appreciate your time, and I'm open to questions if anyone has any. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fear. We'll move on to the next testifier. Just briefly, is there anybody here from the DNR? If you are, can you? 2. Okay, very good. Thank you for being here. We wanted to be sure everybody could hear concerns as we worked through this issue. So next, we're going to ask by Zoom, Mr. Eric Cardell will be joining us to talk about a legal matter and how the deer farmers are having to proceed or the issues that they're facing right now. Mr. Cardell, I'm not sure if you've heard, we're trying to keep it as succinct and pointed just so we don't run out of time, but if you could summarize the situation that you are working with in 5 to 10 minutes, that would be helpful so we can keep moving through the agenda. But welcome to our committee. Please identify yourself for the record, and you may begin. I think you're on mute, Mr. Cardell. We can't hear you, at least right now. Anybody? Is it somebody on our end able to unmute him?
He's not muted right now.
Oh, he's not?
He shows you earlier. Can he try to turn on his mic volume on his end?
I'm being asked if you can turn up your mic volume. We don't hear anything right now.
Do you want to go to the next one when we come back?
Yeah. So, Mr. Cardell, we're going to have our staff try to work with you to see if we can get that going, and we'll go to our next testifier, Mr. Krall?
Dr. James Krall.
Dr. James Krall, and we'll start with him. Hopefully that Zoom does work, and Mr. Cardell, we'll try to get it working here while we move with the next testifier.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. If you want to get just a little bit closer, we can hear you fairly well, but any closer would be fine too. Just
How about that?
there, that sounds good. And please identify yourself for the record if you've been watching some of this. We just need to keep moving along, but if you could give us your information and insight relating to a background in 5 to 10 minutes, that would be very helpful. But introduce yourself and welcome to our committee.
Thank you. I think I can do it in less time than that. I'm Dr. James Kroll. I'm Emeritus Professor of Forest Wildlife at Stephen F. Austin State University, Director of the Institute for Whitetail Deer Management and Research, and also the Rockwell Chair in Forest Wildlife. And I've been working with whitetails, all aspects of whitetails for 50 years. That said, I can comment on these very quickly. First of all, the agency authority, I would support giving that to animal health for two reasons. One, it's redundant for two agencies to carry out the same activities. Secondly, animal health has a lot more expertise. They have a lot, quite frankly, better attitude in working with producers than us resource managers like me have. So I would support that very much, and it's working out well where it's been done like that. Next, the fence thing. I'm a scientist. I only believe things that have peer-reviewed science behind them. I am very familiar with all the literature on fences. There is not one scientific credible study that has been done about transmission through fences. It may happen, but the science is not there. And all those agencies say we follow the science. Well, let us follow the science. It's not there. So I don't have any problem with that changes they want in the fences. As far as penalties for not following regulations, I've been the unfortunate witness to I don't know how many killouts now where people come out of nowhere and come in and kill animals. It's an animal welfare matter. It's horrible if you ever are unfortunate enough to have to watch that. It's unnecessary now that we have live testing. You can put a non-compliant producer into a protocol that just like it was brought up about what's going on or what's gone on for years with the sheep herders. That's pretty much it, really. I support these actions, and I hope y'all proceed with it. It's an important thing, and I have 100% confidence that what I'm seeing with deer breeders around the country is they're very quickly doing what the sheep herders have done and breeding themselves out of this issue, and ironically will probably be instrumental in saving the wild deer.
Thank you, Mr. Cullum. I'd just like to, can you give us just a little more background in your experience with deer specifically? I understand that's kind of been a big focus of your work, just for the committee to understand where you're coming from. And in your experience, you mentioned the breeding that's going on around the country. And members, I want to, if you have another urgent question for Dr. Kroll, we can take it, but we just are trying to balance against time. So I just think that would be helpful if you can just give us a little more of that background as somebody that seems like has quite a bit of experience in this issue that we're wrestling with very much here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think I can handle that. There's not much I haven't done with deer and everything. But I think it might be helpful for you to be reminded that Governor Walker in Wisconsin appointed me the nation's first deer czar to fix the problems that were causing all sorts of turmoil in Wisconsin. So I'm the nation's first deer trustee for Wisconsin. So he trusted me enough to give me that job. So I've done just about everything when it comes to research, reproductive biology, nutrition, wilderness issues, you name it.
64 with.
Okay. Any other questions right now, members? Otherwise, we'll see if Mr. Cardell. Mr. Kroll, can you stay with us if there's questions that come up yet?
Sure, I will.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Cardell, can we try your Zoom connection here again?
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me
Hey,
now?
we got you. We got you on voice here. Great. Thank you, staff, for your good work to help make this happen. Get as close as you can to the mic. Mr. Cardell, welcome to our committee. Introduce yourself for the record, and then summarize what you can in 5 to 10 minutes on behalf of the deer farmers and the issue you're working with that pertains to the bills in front of us today and some of the issues we're trying to wrestle with.
Thank you, Co-Chairs Westerman and Putnam and Senator Wesenberg. My name is Eric Cardell. I'm an attorney. I made a career basically bringing lawsuits in the court against the government to improve government performance. And I offer my legal services and knowledge to the members of the committee to navigate this difficult process of regulating deer farming. Now, to some extent, the Minnesota legislature has certainly made a decision that deer can be livestock. That's in statute. In fact, in Minnesota Statute 17.452, the Minnesota legislature enacted law saying deer farming is an agricultural pursuit. So there can't be any question for the committee members that deer farming is a legitimate legal occupation. Then, unfortunately, the advice of the Department of Natural Resources, the state legislature has passed laws that contradict the protection of this legitimate legal occupation. One statute restricts the sales of farm registrations. Another statute says no new registrations for deer farms. And then the double exclusionary fencing requirement, which we're discussing today. This sort of contradictory approach that the state legislature has used, on one hand, saying that deer farming is a legitimate occupation. On the other hand, as Senator Wesenberg said, we're trying to put them out of business, is a real quandary. It's not the way that the state legislature should operate. I know a little bit about this because in 2022, I advised the Minnesota Senate Commerce Committee not to regulate the precious metals, gold, and bullion transactions. The Minnesota Senate Commerce Committee did not follow my advice. And the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit, 46 F. 4th 907, year 2022, found the Minnesota statute to violate the U.S. Constitution. Similarly, here we have a lawsuit, deer farmers, Minnesota deer farmers versus Strawman, which is a lawsuit challenging the idea that the Minnesota legislature has said deer farming is legitimate legal occupation, and then has adopted regulations to put them out of business. So poor Mr. Fear here and the other deer farmers have relied on the state legislature making deer farming a legitimate legal occupation. And then as you kind of bait them into it, they have reasonable investment expectations. And then through the DNR's advice, you're trying to...
Mr. Cardell, we're getting just a little bit of glitching. If you want to turn your camera off, we might...
Under the U.S. Constitution.
Mr. Cardell?
In our lawsuit, we just point out that the state
Mr. Cardell?
legislature,
Oh, he did.
when it
Very good. Thank you.
recognizes a legitimate legal occupation, it doesn't have the power to restrict who pursues the occupation. So, okay, so here you're saying farmers are restricted in selling their registrations. There's no new registrations. Sure. Oh, yeah, so with respect to the restrictions on the deer farmers, you have no new registrations. So people like Mr. Udovich who want to be a deer farmer and has been a deer farmer can't be a deer farmer. And then people who have farms can't sell them to, other people, except in limited exceptions. You couldn't do that for carpenters. You couldn't do that for electricians. You couldn't do that for insurance salesmen. You state legislature think that with respect to the deer farmer occupation, which the state legislature is itself created, that it can restrict access or pursuit. I mean, you couldn't have those limitations on lawyers or accountants either. So for some reason, we think that we can use the powers of government to put out as a business. So it's very difficult to understand how we can be in this situation. And I don't blame the state legislature. I don't think the state agency, the Department of Natural Resources, was reading the Constitution when they came up with these ideas. So with respect to the two Senate files, I won't go over the science. We already have Wisconsin's deer czar here has testified before me, but I do think it provides some relief, Senate File 553 and Senate File 659, to the deer farmers until we work this out. The state legislature needs to strive to comply with all laws, including the federal Constitution. And it's really important to follow the federal Constitution when you're regulating the economy. The Minnesota legislature has fantastic tools to regulate the economy, but you can't reach for the unconstitutional tools. And the way that the Minnesota legislature has dealt with deer farmers in establishing deer farming as a legitimate legal occupation on one hand, and then trying to regulate it out of business on the other hand, is unconstitutional. The Eighth Circuit argument in the case will be in a few months. I think this is a nice olive branch to the deer farmers saying, hey, look, we know we may have messed this up a bit, but we'll take this off you until that case is resolved. Thank you, co-chairs.
Thank you, Mr. Cardell. Any quick questions, members? Very good. If you can, we appreciate your time, Mr. Cardell. If you're able to stay on, you're sure welcome to. We understand you're busy as well. We appreciate you kind of laying out the issues and concerns from a legal perspective as we've maybe been a part of creating this mess as well, i.e. we, the legislature. But we will see. Certainly, there's lots of controversy going on right now. So we do appreciate your time. You're welcome to stay if we have further questions at the end and time to do so. But need not if you've got other things you need to get to. So with that, I'll ask Steve Porter to come up, and then Deb Holtos, if you want to join him, that way we can move, and then last testifier will be Mark Volga. But you, Mark, we can have you come up once Deb testifying. Mr. Porter, welcome to our committee. We want to get through all this, so we appreciate if you can try to hit the highlights and the main points so we can have time to discuss the bill at the very end, and the bills, I should say, and move them if that's what the committee will is. So, Mr. Porter, welcome. Introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Senator Westrom and committee, for having me. I appreciate it. I've been in here testifying before. I've got about 30 years of law enforcement experience, and during that time I built a farm. The state created a pathway. They said, invest in Minnesota. You can do an alternative livestock. And I watched Minnesota.
Can you get just a little closer, Mr. Porter?
I watched Minnesota create grants to encourage alternative livestock and small acreage production. That's exactly what we did without any grants. My farm is 32 years old. It's a good, clean, healthy farm. I've heard the arguments from Dr. Kroll that's saying double fencing, exclusionary fencing does not work in preventing disease. But one very important note is all of our farms are USDA certified in a CWD monitoring program. We send in brain stems and lymph nodes. We have an inventory. So as I stand here today and I talk to you, we can talk about the effectiveness of an exclusionary fence, but we're missing a key point. The key point is I don't have disease. I don't. None of the deer farmers do. So we get to stand on a foundation that was created by the USDA that says our animals are clean and healthy. And that kind of makes the conversation and the topic of an exclusionary fence mute, because we're not trying to contain a disease. We don't have it. If I had one positive test for CWD, my deer would be killed off and I would be done. So let's think of the precedent that was set. If we're going to say, and this is the testimony I've heard in this chamber in the past, what if you get the disease? Well, hypothetical, I don't have the disease. So what if a cattle farmer would get TB? Should we have all the cattle farmers put up double fence? What if a turkey farmer got avian bird flu? Should we go schedule them for extinction? But that's exactly what we're doing in Minnesota to deer farmers. Somehow we became the villain of CWD. We have clean, healthy farms, and the USDA will tell you that. Let's depend on that science. I don't have a disease. So here we go now. We've turned us over from the Board of Animal Health to the DNR. The horror of the DNR coming on our farms. We have licensed officers coming on our farms to conduct inspections wearing body cameras, filming us. If we have a toddler walking around our yard and the diaper falls off, we have a law enforcement officer filming the naked toddler walking around the yard and taking the footage off our farm. Is this the precedent that we're going to set to turn agricultural industries over to licensed cops to film everything on a family farm, to come in without a search warrant, without consent, and film all of our belongings and take it off the farm and rule us with an iron fist? Could you imagine turning a turkey farm over to a game warden to do inspections? Could you imagine a beef or a dairy farm being turned over from the Board of Animal Health to the DNR for inspections? This is constitutional violations up one side and down the other. It is full of constitutional violations. Our attorney, Eric Cardall, touched on these topics. In the Constitution, it says we have equal protection under the law. Can you name me one other livestock industry that has been turned over to law enforcement for inspections? There is not one. When I got into law enforcement, a sheepdog was born within me. And the same thing happened to you guys. You were given power. I was given power in law enforcement to protect the weak, to not weaponize law enforcement or laws against them. We were here to protect the weak. And I'm begging this committee to protect the farms that were encouraged to start farming and invest in Minnesota soil and get a farm going. And we did that. And then we became the villain. And now all of a sudden we're weaponizing and we're turning against farms. On July 10th in our federal court hearing, the federal judge, John Tunheim, on July 10th in Fergus Falls, the judge asked Mr. Pulitzer, the DNR attorney, he asked him specifically, he said from the bench, Mr. Pulitzer, representing the state, it appears that with all these laws against no more licenses, no more registrations, double fencing, all the laws that the Minnesota legislation passed against deer farming, it appears to me that the state is trying to legislate deer farmers out of business. And the state attorney said, I would not argue against that. I would not buck against that. The state attorney admitted on July 10th in Fergus Falls that yes, the legislature was used to end an industry. That is called a regulatory taking. It is called a theft of my business. They could have given us due process. The Constitution says none of our property shall be seized from us without giving us due process. But they admitted in court they're taking our farms through legislation, scheduling us for extinction, and denying us due process. I'm asking this committee to please stand up, not for deer farms. Please stand up for the United States Constitution. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Deb Holtas, welcome to our committee, and Mark Volk, if you want to come up and be ready. Ms. Holtas, tell us what you can add to what's already been talked about. Try to hit the highlights again, and then we'll move into discussion of the two final bills and motions to move them, if that's the committee will, once we're done. So we want to keep moving along, but we want to hear from you and situations you're facing. Thank you. Introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Chairman Westrom. Thank you, Co-Chair Mr. Putnam. My name is Deb Holthaus. I am a professional business owner, and I'm also a farmer. And I was born a farmer. The farm's been in my family farm for generations. I was raised on it. My children were raised on it. I also have another business, several other businesses. So back in the day, I was a cattle farmer, a horse farmer, a rancher. We did cow-calf, we did crop farming. And as the economy changed and we changed our family structure, we went into lower acreage and we got into deer farming because it doesn't take as many acres. So we remained in deer farming and did some crop farming for alfalfa. So as we progress, we've been in farming now with the deer for over 15 years. And I don't know when I wasn't involved with the Board of Animal Health because we've been in livestock since I was a child. So the Board of Animal Health has always been a good resource. They're very accommodating. And so this was a natural for us to go back to the Board of Animal Health with the deer. So as we progressed on, and I'm not going to reiterate all the other statements that were said, I want to focus more on where we're moving as deer farmers in the industry. And we're moving to genetic testing. And we have deer farmers in our presence right now that their herds are now 100% genetic resistant in the state of Minnesota. We've heard testimony where Oklahoma has passed a law where the deer farms can now release genetic resistant deer into the wild. We have 5 to 6 other states that are moving in that direction. And just for the record, in Oklahoma, there were only 3 Democrats that did not vote in favor of that law. So in our state, which is notable for our state, we are a very progressive state. And our deer farmers have taken that, and we have progressed with genetic resistance. It's very simple. What we do, we work our deer annually. We take a tissue sample from their ear with a punch hole. It's a tiny, tiny little sample. And we send it in to have it tested. And when it's tested, it's going to give us our markers. And then what we do, when we get our markers back, we start culling out those that do not have the genetic resistance. And we're already there. Now, for me, I've only began this, and I'm thinking, why should I keep on going? The DNR is going to come in and shoot all my deer. In the meantime, while that's happened, I've lost hearing in my left ear from all the stress with what's going to happen with my deer farm. I have 3 other businesses to run. So the stress is immense on what is going to happen with my farm, with my live animals. What are my grandchildren going to see when this happens? And this is all in statute. So I think I've topped on what is really important. We do have genetic resistance going on already without any funding. We do this on our own. And that's the direction we're moving in. We do not need double fence. There's no scientific evidence on that. And we need to belong back to the Board of Animal Health, and they need to be funded, as the DNR is funded, to do the administration for our farm. Thank you very much, committee members.
Thank you, Ms. Holthus. Last testifier, Mark Volk. If you can introduce yourself, keep it short, and then we're going to open it up for questions and discussion. Welcome to our committee. Identify yourself for the record, please.
All right, thank you, Chairman Westrom, Co-Chair Putnam, members. My name is Mark Volk. I'm from Royalton area. I've been deer farming for about 8 years. My wife's sitting back here with her service dog. We are both veterans of the Minnesota Army National Guard. She is a 100% disabled veteran with PTSD. The stresses that we have undergone going through these legislative hearings, I will say this is my first time testifying, so if I seem a little nervous, I am. But the stress that we have gone through is not what I expected when I got into deer farming. I was raised on a hog farm. We raised, we had about 30 to 40 sows, raising piglets, feeder pigs, and it's astronomical what it's done to us. My wife, she suffers from paralytic seizures on a daily basis. Again, the stress, it's all from the stress, from the post-traumatic stress disorder. So we're just here to, show our support for these bills that Senator Wesenberg has introduced. The exclusionary fencing, double fencing, whatever you would like to call it. There's farms across the country that have been double fenced and closed herds. Closed herds meaning that they have not had a live animal brought into their farm for a minimum of 5 years. Many of these farms, 10, 15, even 20 years that they've been in this status, that have come up positive. Well, if we're being told to double fence, that this is going to save us, why are these farms coming up positive? You know, there's nothing to support this exclusionary fence as being any help to either side of the fence. And granted, as you already heard, we're in a USDA certified program monitoring for CWD. Every single animal on our farm that dies that's over 6 months old now, as of legislation that was changed here 2 years ago, we have to send in the brain stems and lymph nodes for testing. We are the canary in the coal mine. If you don't understand that analogy, the coal miners used to take canary down into the mines with them because the canary is very sensitive to the environment. If something happened to that canary, they knew get their butts out of the mine. There was dangerous gases there. On the outside of our fence, if we're not in endemic zone, you're talking 0.1%, maybe, that gets tested for CWD of the wild herd. I mean, you're going to find it where you're looking for it, and that's on our farms, if it gets into our farms, which is highly unlikely. Dr. Scott Wells has done a study, was referenced earlier. You know, we've got years upon years of video surveillance showing that the fence line contact is minimal at best. It's not enough to pass the disease. I'm going to try and keep it short here. I'll move on to the other bill, transferring back to the Board of Animal Health. As again, others have said, it's livestock. We should be there. They're easier to work with. We've reached out and we've tried to set up meetings with the head of the DNR, Commissioner Stroman, Assistant Commissioner Bob Meyer, and we hear crickets back. We have not been able to get a meeting with them. So get everybody on the same page. They will not respond to us. The officers, I mean, the ones I've dealt with have been good, but they're doing their jobs. They're following what they're told to do. But they're not designed to oversee farms. The DNR is wildlife, not farms. And a lot of the work, like our movement farms, when I send a deer to somebody else's farm, I've got 14 days to notify the Board of Animal Health, not the DNR. DNR has to send that to the Board of Animal Health. So you've got two agencies doing the same thing. It's a waste. I'm sitting here, oh, who do I send this paper to? Who do I send that paper to? It's a waste of time for us, for the DNR, for the Board of Animal Health. They should all be under the Board of Animal Health. Who knows what to do with farms? I could go on and on. I'm trying to keep on point here, but you know, these bills are common sense to put us back where we're best suited to be, and that's through the Board of Animal Health. I could call them at any day and get the answers that I need for any problem if I've got something going on, and they're so easy to work with. DNR, if I got a health issue, who do I talk to? They don't have any veterinarians on staff that can help us with anything. So I just think it's their common sense bills, you know, they should be passed and, you know, help us out. We're trying to live here. I mean, so thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Volk. Members, any questions? That concludes the list of people that have asked and signed up to testify. It was public for others to join in if they wanted. That's the list we've received. So, other questions, members?
Could I?
No, Senator Weber? Otherwise, I'm going to go to Senator Anderson for a motion. But you have a question? Go ahead.
Why don't you go to Senator? No, actually, I'm going to make my statement now.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From 2017 through 2021, I chaired the Ag, Housing, and Rural Development Policy Committee. We dealt with CWD during that time period, and that's when the DNR started to become more active in trying to gain control of the deer farms. At that time, when they asked the question, DNR personnel, when asked the question, are you trying to get rid of the deer farms? They'd say, oh, no, 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 no. But at that time, with the blood test was just becoming readily available, and if there was an incidence where disease was found, I asked the question, have you taken the opportunity, since disease was found on that particular one animal, have you tested the rest of the herd to find out if it had been transmitted? No. Now, they had perfect time to have a test case with the rest of that herd, but they weren't going to take time for that. Their only desire was to go in and wantonly kill the herd. That's what they did. And so they pretty much answered by their actions the question, are you trying to get rid of the deer farmers? I'm glad to see that at least the last court case that the attorney was willing to admit what they have been trying to do all the time. But I think there have been two incidences, and since I've been in the legislature, that I believe are distinct violation of the Constitution, and they both have happened in the area of environment and natural resources. And one was the taking of farmland by the buffer strip without compensation for the property owners, and the other is trying to legislate deer farms out of existence without any compensation for them as well. And so I just wanted to, having some historical context with this issue, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to share those remarks.
Thank you, Senator Weber. Senator Anderson, do you have a motion on Senate File 553?
Mr. Chairman, there is the motion that I want to make, there's an amendment that was passed out, and I'm just wondering, because it says 553.
Senator Anderson, you make your first motion, and then the chair will explain an amendment. That's
okay. Mr. Chair, I move that Senate File 553 be recommended to pass without recommendation to the Environment, Climate, and Legacy Committee.
Okay. So
Without recommendation.
Anderson would move Senate File 553 to pass to the Environment Committee without recommendation. Members, now with that motion in front of us for discussion, I've talked to Senator Wesenberg. There's an alternative idea, and I've run this by Senator Putnam as well. Another idea would be to only allow the second fence requirement that we're discussing when the state puts the money up to pay for that regulation and that extra expense. The idea has come to me through years on the Ag Committee. About 20 some years ago, livestock farmers with cattle and pigs were gone after by some agencies, and ultimately we came up with a cost share that the state had to pay for the new feedlot regulation, manure management rules that were going to be very expensive to implement, and so those regulations didn't get imposed until that money was there by the state, if it was that important for the state. So it's based on that same concept as an alternative. I've talked to Senator Wesenberg about it. I think he is open to this alternative as an idea of trying to find good ways to resolve this issue. The DNR feels that this is the right way to go, then the state should not make it an unfunded mandate on all the deer farmers, but the enforcement should only happen when the state puts their money where their mouth is, and in regards to a second fence for, in addition to what deer farms already have to put on. So if members feel that would be another way, an alternative to go and more desirable, that's why I brought the A2 amendment and for discussion, and to move it, I would move the A2 amendment to the Senate File 553. Discussion, Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say that similar to the sentiments expressed earlier by Senator Weber, I think that when the state asks you to do something, the state should help you pay for it. I think that's just reasonable. I think that the specifics within this amendment will likely get worked out in its next committee stop. But in principle, I approve.
Thank you. Senator Wesenberg, any comment on the A2 amendment and other members?
I have no comment, and we talked about this before, and I think this is a good amendment, and I would accept this amendment. I think that's how I do it, right? So yeah, I think it's good, and if there's language we need to work on, we'll work on that, but I think this is good, and if we're gonna make these things happen, then they have to be paid for. Yep.
Sure. Any other discussion, members? Having none, all those in favor of the A2 amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion prevails to the Senate, to the Anderson motion as amended. Any discussion? Having none, the chair will call the question for Senate File 553 to pass to the Environment Committee without recommendation. All those in favor, as amended, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion prevails. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that Senate File 659 be referred to the Committee on Environment, Climate, and Legacy without recommendation.
Senator Weber moves that Senate File 659 be passed to the Environment Committee without recommendation. Any discussion to that motion? No? No further discussion. The chair will renew the motion to pass Senate File 659 to the Environment Committee without recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion prevails. Thank you, members. We did it.
Could I take 1 second?
Senator Wesenberg, go ahead.
Chair, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening and helping the deer farmers, and thank you guys for being here. Yeah, and how they finished off, there's some people here also that didn't get to speak, but this is very emotionally taxing because this is their livelihood, and we really need to help these guys out. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wesenberg, and I appreciate you and all the farmers making the trip and all those joining the committee. We're always constrained by time, so I appreciate very nice job of keeping it succinct to the point, and I think that's very helpful for us moving through this. So, Senator Putnam, any final comments? Otherwise, we'll move to adjourn.
Well, thank you, Senator Westrom. I'm very impressed by your efficiency today. Frankly, a little bit jealous of it, actually.
I'll take that, take that compliment. Thank you, Senator Putnam. And members, no further business. This meeting is adjourned.